Now imagine if trees could provide Wi-Fi, just how many trees you would plant? Well, they provide oxygen. We definitely cannot do without it. Destruction of nature, such as forests, has led to irreversible climatic changes to our world. Join me as I talk to policy formulators, change makers, and climate change interest groups on Climate Check, weekly on this channel. Now you are the solution to climate change. Zambia has signed its first bilateral agreement with Norway at the ongoing Climate Change Summit COP29 in Azerbaijan. The 15-year agreement, based on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, will see the two countries engage in carbon trading. Minister of Green Economy and Environment, Mwiikisa, signed on behalf of Zambia, while Norway's Minister of Climate and Environment, Ture Sandvik, signed on behalf of his country.
In order to achieve this objective, we prepared and shared a concept paper with the government of Norway on a potential sectoral crediting approach for our power sector. This concept paper, Honorable Minister, proposes the establishment of a financing instrument that supports private sector investment in the power sector through a carbon-based feed in premium payment. You may wish to note that our government has taken various reforms such as open access and net metering in the energy sector to broaden our energy sources and enhance private sector and independent power producer participation. This is a new concept we have put in place, and it is meant to encourage a lot of people to generate their own power, which they can use and get the excess or the surplus power to the national grid. We believe that the signing of this bilateral agreement with the Norwegian government today will take us a step further towards our quest for increasing investment in renewable energy alternatives. Honorable Minister, as I conclude, I would like to extend my gratitude to the government of Norway for your continued commitment and support to Zambia as we continue to work together to achieve our NDCs in order to keep the goal of 1.5 degrees alive.
And I'm thrilled to sign a bilateral agreement with Zambia on Article 6. The global stocktake at COP29 last year showed that the world's collective NDCs will not be sufficient to reach the 1.5 degree temperature targets. We need to do more. And Norway believes cooperation under Article 6 can provide much needed finance for green investments in developing countries. We are committed to doing our part to raise global ambitions. We have been working on Article 6 for many years with different partner organizations, including the Global Green Growth Institutes. In our work, we prioritize environmental integrity in emission reductions, strong host country ownership, and strengthening the private sector. Today, our two countries are taking a major leap forward, paving the way for green investments in Zambia and a contribution to global mitigation ambitions. Excellency, I'm honored that you will join Norway's launch of our Global Emission Reduction Initiative on November 19th and look forward hearing about your perspectives on Article 6 during the event. Finally, let me also congratulate you on Zambia's election as a member to the Global Green Institutes Council for 25-26. GGGI is an important partner organization for Norway, and we strongly support active participation from developing countries in the organization's governance.
And speaking after the signing ceremony, Mr. Mposha called for more players on the carbon market space.
Our people must begin to get ready in the various jurisdictions of our country to ensure that we produce the desired targets in terms of carbon to sell to the market, because initially the argument was, where is the market? Remember, we were dealing with just two, BCP and Comaco, in terms of the private players on the ground, And here we are now, we are accessing the market. The Norwegian market has come on board, and our people now will be able to sell there. So let us protect the trees, let us plant more trees. There's an opportunity now for the next 15 years to sell with Norway, but there are more other countries that are coming up. I also want to thank the Global Green Growth Institute for having been there, and the SPARK program for facilitating and ensuring that we came up with a very binding document. Without their support, working with our experts, with our officials, would have delayed to get where we are today. So I'm very, very grateful to all the players who made sure that this agreement is actualized.
Meanwhile, Green Economy and Environment Permanent Secretary said Zambia is ready to implement the agreement.
Indeed, the bilateral signing between us and Norway is a very important one for two things. One, Norway is signing to buy up carbon credits from us, what are called internationally transferable mitigation outcomes, which means if Norway fails to meet their mitigation obligations under the Paris Agreement, then they can come to the projects that we implement in Zambia to buy carbon credits, which they will use for their mitigation efforts. That's one. Secondly, Norway is willing to finance some of the renewable energy projects in Zambia, including clean cooking alternatives, from which they can buy carbon credits. So two things there. One is to provide financing for implementing the projects. Second is to provide ready markets for the carbon credits that will be generated from those projects. But most importantly, when you are dealing with a player like Norway, Norway is in the highest category of integrity in carbon trading terms. Because in carbon trading, we have a problem of integrity. There are some carbon credits that are not genuine, or what we call greenwashing. But when you are dealing with a partner like Norway, you know that your credits are genuine and they'll fetch a premium price on the international market. On Tuesday, Norway is launching this bigger effort because Norway have committed themselves to support this at a very broad scale. So there will be many countries that will be part of this process. But we are happy as Zambia that we are the first ones to sign. We are the first ones to work with Norway through a legal agreement that we are going to implement these projects together. So what this gives us, it gives us that edge over others that we have already put the framework in place, and we can start developing the project pipelines even as early as tomorrow. This is an opportunity. In fact, when we go back home, we have to talk to people at the public-private dialogue forum so that we look for private players who are willing to come on board and be part of this process. Remember, it is not government to implement the project, it's the private players themselves that are supposed to help us to come up with those project pipelines, and then we see which ones can be funded by the Norwegian government.
I'm the National Coordinator for the Supporting Preparedness for Article 6 Cooperation Program. It is a program that is funded by the German Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action, and the program is implemented by Global Green Growth Institute and its consortium of partners. Zambia and Norway signed an Article 6 bilateral agreement, which basically is an overarching framework for the trading of carbon credits. For Zambia, this means that we have a sovereign nation that has positioned itself as ready to buy any carbon credits that are generated in Zambia that have been approved by the Zambian government. The bilateral with Norway has put Zambia in a position where it can call on private sector players to make investments in the energy sector, energy projects that are in the renewable energy space, and Norway is in a position to buy emission reductions from these projects once they are approved by the government of Zambia.
Once effected, Norway will also finance renewable energy projects in Zambia, thereby growing Zambia's economy. Now imagine if trees could provide Wi-Fi. Just how many trees you would plant? Well, they provide oxygen. We definitely cannot do without it. Destruction of nature, such as forests, has led to irreversible climatic changes to our world. Join me as I talk to policy formulators, change makers, and climate change interest groups on Climate Check, weekly on this channel. Now you are the solution to climate change.
lo que termina ya esta COP, 3 días faltan y no hay soluciones y no hay acuerdos. De primerazo aprobaron las soluciones falsas, el mercado de carbono, que es una solución falsa y que siguen manejando las empresas petroleras.
They are expressing displeasure with the reluctance by the global north towards paying for the damage they have caused to the planet. Leaders at COP29 are meeting to agree on climate finance. Zambia, on the other hand, is achieving national financial goals. This morning, the country signed a memorandum of understanding with Singapore for Article 6 under the Paris Agreement.
Zambia is in search of partners, credible partners, and we are happy that in Singapore we have a partner joining us through this MOU, a very credible partner, and we believe that working together, the two countries have a lot to learn from each other. So this is a very momentous occasion for us as Zambia to sign this MOU. This memorandum that we are signing here today will pave way for our cooperation, which will culminate into a bilateral agreement between two parties to be implemented under Article 6 collaboration under the Paris Agreement, of the Paris Agreement. It presents an opportunity for governments and the private sector to collaborate in the implementation of mitigation actions that reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The MOU will help us implement mitigation projects in various different critical sectors, including energy, agriculture, waste, and forestry, among others. Your Excellency, this MOU could have not come at any better time than now. I just mentioned to you when we were having a small chat in the holding room that Zambia is at a crossroad in terms of being on the receiving end of effects of climate change. We are going through an extremely punishing drought which has affected food security, water, energy security. And the Zambian government is doing everything possible within its means to ensure that we fight climate change. Therefore, the signing of this MOU at this very crucial time will go a long way in adding to our impetus to fight climate change. So we are very, very grateful that this MOU has come at this very critical stage. Your Excellency, like yourself, our desire is to see to it that we could quickly implement this MOU and then transition into the implementation agreement.
We see more countries announcing their intention to collaborate on Article 6, which reflects the importance of carbon markets for us to meet our collective climate goals. In this regard, Singapore is happy to be signing this MOU with Zambia today. Through our Article 6 collaboration, both countries will share expertise and knowledge, unlock opportunities and financing for greater mitigation efforts, and accelerate our low-carbon transition. We will also work towards a legally binding implementation agreement to facilitate the transfer of mitigation outcomes. We hope to conclude and sign as soon as feasible to bring concrete climate benefits. I hope that our cooperation will demonstrate how high-quality carbon credits can credibly raise global climate ambition and bring about tangible benefits such as environmental protection, sustainable development, the creation of good jobs, and enhanced biodiversity. These are especially important for countries like Singapore and Zambia, who are vulnerable to the effects of climate change. I would like to thank the teams from Singapore's Ministry of Trade and Industry, Ministry of Sustainability and Environment, National Climate Change Secretariat, and Zambia's Ministry of Green Economy and Environment for the strong support in delivering this important milestone. This MOU is an important step forward for both our countries. Singapore looks forward to working closely with Zambia to pave the way for more ambitious climate action. Thank you.
This is the third official document the country is signing in a space of 3 days. Government has urged financial institutions to scale up their support towards climate action in Zambia. Green Economy and Environment Minister Mposha has advised the bank representatives attending COP29 in Azerbaijan to ensure they pass on the benefit of their engagements to the Zambian people.
We have financial institutions here, so we're very grateful that they are already playing a part and that they will be seeing things, they'll be seeing the negotiations, and they'll be seeing the critical highlights that all of us will be taking home in terms of what is it that we need to do, what finances are likely to come home.
And some of the banks attending COP29 pledged their continued support towards drought response through provision of sustainable products and supplementary support towards climate adaptation.
What we've done with Zafico is that we are working with them using their expertise with plantations, and this past rain season we did finance them with about 250,000 kwacha, purchasing seedlings with 250,000 kwacha, which about 60,000 seedlings were planted by Zafico. And out of that we've made a policy that for all the seedlings that we've purchased from Zafico, 80% will be planted by Zafico in the plantations to sustain those plantations, but 20% of that goes to chiefdoms, goes to schools, and also goes to various communities.
It's important for us to be up to date with the latest developments so that we can position ourselves for the benefit of our customers, for the benefit of our country, to be able to provide relevant solutions to the challenges that businesses and individuals are experiencing. We want to be able to find productive, realistic and relevant solutions, products that can help businesses to thrive even in these challenging circumstances. So we want to have the information, the knowledge, we want to have the connections and the linkages to be able to unlock resources for the benefit of our local economy and for the benefit of our country.
Meanwhile, the Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank says it has invested in the restoration of the Zambezi River through the Mukuni establishment in Kazongola district.
We have since launched a restoration of River Zambezi, where we are trying to restore Songwe River, which is an initiative that is being driven by the Mukuni establishment. Just last week we saw a number of youths launching that project in around Songwe, and we hope to do a little bit more. In addition, we're the first bank in Zambia that launched carbon-backed. We provided financing to an SME who wanted to do a carbon project. So one of the things that we're responding as a bank is providing financing to MSMEs that are developing initiatives and projects in the clean cooking space. We have since financed and one of our SMEs with the clean cooking, who had a brilliant clean cooking solution, and it's here at COP being exhibited, where you do not need to use charcoal or get worried about you not having power. It uses methanol as a source of fuel for it. Aside that, there are a few other projects that are in the pipeline. Hoping that at the end of this COP we'll be able to put together or bring together a lot of resources that we'll be able to then use for onward lending to these SMEs to broaden the scope of alternatives to the cooking solution. In addition to it, we are currently piloting a solar photovoltaic solution. Right now, only a few individuals, companies are involved, but we hope that in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to extend it to other, customers domiciled at ZIC.
We are currently carrying out an activity in partnership with the Mukuni Royal Establishment, the restoration of Nsongwa River, which is a tributary to Zambezi and sits only 5 kilometers away from the Victoria Falls. So this river is really a huge source of water for the people in Mukuni and for the people in Nsongwe, and also the people in surrounding areas. This river has been dry, and us facing the previous drought that we have had to face, we have even seen more of the water levels going down. So this year alone, through the support from the Zambia Industrial Commercial Bank, we have managed to do a nature regeneration activity as part of our phase 1 activities, and we have had to weed 100,000 native species. So we're looking forward to having more trees planted next year. We have at least about 20,000 trees that we are planting this year. We're looking forward with more financial commitments, of course, from the banks and other cooperating partners to see how best we can expedite the raising of more seedlings in the next financial year and even in the other. We have also received this far some complementary support from the BWF, and we have done at least 5 check dams. We are scheduled to do 5 more check dams next year that are going to help us to collect water and also to slow down the flow of water as we have rain season and all that.
The minister later presented Zambia's national position at the ministerial plenary session, where he urged the highly industrialized nations to fund climate action in the least developed countries.
Madam President, with this background, Zambia demands that we do not leave this conference without achieving the following. 1, a new collective quantified goal on finance that has strong linkages between the severity of the impacts and identified financing needs of developing countries to fight climate change. Number 2, advance our work on the global goal on adaptation to ensure that we will be able to adopt indicators next year in Brazil. The third point is finalize the rules and modalities for the carbon market under the Paris Agreement to ensure that it delivers on enhanced ambition while supporting sustainable development in host countries. And the fourth point, we call upon the board of the Fund for Responding to Loss and Damage to accelerate progress towards the full operationalization and capitalization of the fund to make it functional and ensure access and timely delivery of funds to the affected countries. Madam President, as I conclude, I wish to remind us that we only have one earth. We are one family and share one future. Together, we must act now, as our actions today will define the future of our planet. Zambia is ready to collaborate with all nations in this endeavor.
Barely a day after signing a carbon trade bilateral agreement with Norway, the Zambian government has yet again scored success at COP29 in Azerbaijan by signing another bilateral agreement with Sweden's Swedish Energy Agency. This is for investment in Zambia's energy sector. The agreement will also create a bigger market for carbon trading between Zambia and Sweden. Green Economy and Environment Permanent Secretary Dauti Chibamba signed on behalf of Zambia, while Director General for the Swedish Energy Agency, Caroline Aserap, signed on behalf of Sweden.
The signing of this bilateral agreement with the Kingdom of Sweden through the Swedish Energy Agency today is an opportunity to accelerate finance in energy efficiency and renewable energy initiatives and technologies.
We're very pleased to partner with Zambia and together pioneer the role of carbon markets in contributing to energy transition, low carbon development and increased global climate ambition.
Dr. Chibamba explains what this means for Zambia's grappling energy sector.
The goodness with these two bilaterals that we have signed is that they also come with a financing component. Sweden and Norway are willing to finance renewable energy projects in Zambia, clean cooking energy projects in Zambia, from which they can buy the carbon projects. So what does that mean for Zambia? First of all, it provides the private sector in Zambia with an opportunity to access finance from Sweden or from Norway to implement renewable energy projects in Zambia, from which they can sell the carbon credits back to Sweden and Norway. Now, given the difficult drought that we are facing in Zambia at the moment, which has basically slashed our energy generation in less than half, this is an opportunity for us.
This event comes after months of engagement with Sweden, including the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding in August 2024 in Lusaka.